Now welcome to color harmony and color schemes lesson. Now color harmony refers to the pleasing arrangement of colors, and color schemes are all about complementary, triad, split complementary, and those kind of color schemes. But we will go through all of them in the next examples. So let's get started. Now the very first color scheme that we have here is analogous. I don't know how to pronounce that, so that's that. So we have two main colors, and then the range between those two colors creates an analogous color scheme. So I've selected warm color palette here, and then we have cool color palette, and you can see how they look with these two different drawings. Now the warm color palette does not have that much hue separation or differentiation or color contrast between each other, but that's a analogous color scheme. It usually works that you select a color and then a small range between those, and you create an analogous color scheme. And in the cool color palette, I've selected colors from kind of like these areas here. Then we have achromatic and monochromatic color scheme. So achromatic color scheme is black to white. There's no hue. So when you are selecting colors, you are only using the gray or shades of gray, black and white, those kind of colors. So there's no hue involved. Even though you have a hue here, it does not affect the color that you've chosen. So even if you have like 168 hue, it does not affect how the gray is viewed. And then we have monochromatic, which means that you select a color from the color wheel, let's say hue 137, and then you select different values and saturation values from that same hue. So one hue and then different shades of that one hue. So you have monochromatic on the right side and achromatic on the left side. Then we have complementary. This is something that we've already covered a bit, but yeah, it's the opposite side in the color wheel. As you can see, it's not precisely. So if I would divide the color wheel in half, it would be probably roughly here. So it's not like super precise. The thing is that it's roughly on the opposite side, meaning it's complementary. And when you have complementary color scheme, it creates the most color contrast. Then we have split complementary, which is something that I actually tend to use quite a lot in my drawings. I haven't noticed that I do so, but that is what I tend to do. And I think it's actually one of the, I wouldn't say the best color scheme, but it's actually pretty good. So you use one kind of like primary color, and then you use different, opposite colors from that. And then it creates this split complementary. So they are in the opposite side of the color wheel, but you have a range that you use in your drawings. So that is how the split complementary works. And you can see what kind of colors I've used with the drawing. So you have like a main color, in a sense, like the primary color, and then the split complementary colors here. So that is how the whole thing works. And you can create pretty cool looking drawings with this strategy. Then we have triad, and this is a classical way of, picking colors. So they tend to create this, triangle formation in the color wheel, and you use like 3 different colors to create the drawing. Of course, you can use like a lot of different shades of that hue, and it doesn't have to be like like you pick red and it's only like that red. You can choose like colors from this area, from this area, and from this area. So it doesn't have to be precisely like a single hue that you use. You can use a lot of variation there, but the whole idea is that they are pretty much forming a triangle, and then you create a triad color scheme. Then we have no harmony. So colors are clashing a lot, and they do not work with each other at all. And that is the example here. So you can see that the colors in this drawing, they they truly don't work. Like one could be that there's a lot of things going on, but even if there wouldn't be so much things going on, the colors don't work at all. Like they are all over the place. In my eyes, it could be that you like the drawing. It could be that in your eyes, it feels like, yeah, it's actually looking super good. In my eyes, it does not look good. And I've kind of like placed the colors on the color wheel, and you can see that they are pretty sporadic, or all over the place. Like they don't have any idea behind it. So remember, everything kind of like goes into the color theory, color contrast, and all these guidelines, so to say, they work together. They kind of like have a meaning. So a triad color palette would have worked pretty nicely here, but I shouldn't use red in the drawing, and then this would actually work. So do you think all of these things when you are, picking colors? And it might feel even like intimidating, exhausting to think about these things, but the more you think about these things, the more you learn, and then at some point you don't have to think anymore. You just feel how they work, and you don't have to think so much. Now this is super interesting example, so let's go through the colors in the drawing. Now you can see roughly the hue scale, and that's kind of like what you see here. So it's the hue scale. So in the drawing you could see a lot of colors in a sense, but in reality most of the colors which I've show you here is in this scale. So in this hue scale, that's the majority of the colors, and then you see few colors from this. Now what is super interesting in this drawing is that when you see the hair, or when you look at the hair, now what color would that hair be? What color would that hair be? Now in my eyes it looks green. It is a shade of green. In reality, when we pick the color, we can see it's not actually green at all. Now why is that? Why isn't it green? Why is the hair not green when it actually looks green? And the reason is that the surrounding colors affect how you perceive that color. So when you are picking colors and you feel like, I would like to have a green hair for the character, if the surrounding colors are close to green, you might not need to use green. It's enough that you tilt the hue slider towards green and even use blue. As you can see, this is teal or blue, but because the surrounding colors are blue, as you can see here, it's blue, then when we slide the hue slider or color wheel or hue towards green, then this hair looks green because it's more green than blue. That's the reason why it looks green. Super, super interesting. Maybe even a bit complex to understand. And even the red feather that the bird has isn't actually super red. Like it's not red, even though it feels like it could be a shade of red that I could say that my eyes see the color roughly at this color. Like if you truly compare this color and this color, it feels like it could be the same, but it's not. It's very different. It's actually super dark even. But because there's color contrast involved and there's surrounding colors that are, more blue, and when you go from this blue towards the red, you don't need to use a lot of, like super red color. You can use something like purple and it looks like it would be red because the surrounding color is saying that it's more red than blue. So then the viewer would see that, oh, that's red. Oh, but it's not that much red actually. This is super, super interesting stuff. So when you are picking colors, do you think about the surrounding colors? Do you think about like what are the other colors in your drawing? Because they affect so much what the color is perceived as. Green hair, not green. Red feathers, not red feathers at all. So this is something that is super, super interesting and something that you should keep in mind when choosing colors. So that's all about color harmony and color schemes. Hopefully you learned a lot of new things. So let's get to the next lesson.